Still working out how to use this. Okay. Cool. I'm going to kick things off. Hey, Simon. Nice to see you. I'm going to kick things off. I'm going to start by stopping the music. Like I said, I'm very new to this for everyone who's just joining. So learning how StreamYard works and how to add the music, how to take the music off, probably make a cool intro for the next one as well. But yeah, thanks very much for joining. We've actually had a really a lot of interest in this, which is quite exciting. It's our first webinar. We want to do more of them. Background, obviously, I without blowing my own trumpet, I like to think we think outside the box a lot. We come up with some very unique approaches, and those unique approaches have led us to basically, I mean, we've got Keyword Insights, which is obviously the tool that many of you have used or know about, but we also have a managed service where we do some of the work ourselves if they want us to. And some of our unique approaches to using Keyword Insights has landed us some pretty sizable contracts, just because even with large international companies that already have agencies, they've come to us to do some specific task that perhaps their actual agency couldn't do, just because we tend to think a bit differently. And that's the point of this series, is to basically make it really actionable. This is designed to be like an over-the-shoulder SEO type thing. We're going to show you exactly what we've done and why we did it and how we used different tools. Don't get me wrong, I'm going to try and make this as less sales pitch as possible, but there are natural points where I talk about Keyword Insights because that's how we've used it to do these things. But I'm trying not to make it about that. But it's designed to be as actionable as possible, so that you can go away and have these ideas for yourself. So I'll get straight into it because there's quite a lot to cover. I think I add this to stage. Saganthan, I can't see you, but can you see the screen? I'm hoping that's a yes. Okay. Let me just see. I think you've WhatsApped me. Yes, cool. Okay. And Saganthan, is that in full screen or do I need to make it full screen? No, it's not. Okay. Is that in full screen now? Great. Okay, cool. So yeah, let's go. Out the box SEO, webinar 1, 5 untapped benefits of keyword clustering. Let me just get started. Thanks, Ashley. Yeah, very new to this. So I'm going to start off with the basic. What is keyword clustering? I imagine everyone here knows, but there's a reason this slide is going to go into another 2 slides and maybe show you some things that you hadn't perhaps thought about. But essentially, keyword clustering is, gathering loads of similar keywords together, and any keywords that have a very similar or the same meaning, we group them into one. So you can imagine if you've got 10,000 keywords and you run a clustering algorithm over it, your 10,000 keywords might become more like 1,000 keywords because loads of those 10,000 keywords suddenly get grouped into one. Now, there are 2 methods of keyword clustering. This is something that not everyone is maybe aware of. There is SERP clustering and there's NLP clustering. So SERP clustering is this idea where keywords are grouped based on scraping or analyzing search engine pages and grouping a keyword based on how many URLs they share in common. So you can see in this example here, houses for sale California, homes for sale California, and properties for sale California. They share 7 or 8 URLs in common, and you can see what those URLs are. So they would be grouped together into a cluster based on SERP clustering. There's also NLP clustering, or natural language processing clustering, where the keywords are grouped based on an algorithm. So how a language or an algorithm understands those keywords, they get grouped together. Now, there are pros and cons to both. And some of this, I hope, for some of our users who are here, you'll find this really useful. NLP clustering, the pros are that it's cheap or free. There's plenty of scripts online. You can download Python scripts really easy. And generally, sometimes it can be less confusing to look at the results. That will make more sense in about 2 slides time, because obviously a lot of feedback we get sometimes on our tool, which is a SERP clusterer, is how to understand the results. And I'll quickly go over that. The cons are, or a big con of using NLP clustering, is that we operate in Google's world, right? We're SEOs. We want to make content that ranks on search engines. And NLP doesn't understand a search engine. It's just using language for it. So there's a big con there. SERP clustering, well, the biggest pro is that we operate in Google's world. So if you're optimizing for search engines, that is what the algorithm you probably want to be using. The cons are it will always cost something. Scraping isn't free. We've got to scrape the search engines to do it, so it will always cost something. And there's different price tools out there, or there's different things you can do to do that, but it will always cost something. And the results can sometimes be a little confusing. And I'll go into a bit more detail on that one. This isn't actually the point of this presentation. It's just because it's quite a lot of the feedback we get. And so if there's anyone here who is a user of Keyword Insights at the moment, you might find this really interesting. So just go into this one a little more detail. Basically, imagine each one of these circles is a cluster, and each one of these little symbols, like these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines, is a keyword. So this whole thing here is a keyword, and this whole thing is a keyword, and this whole thing is a keyword, and these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 keywords make up this cluster. So what you can see is where these purple lines are, these are the URLs each of the keywords have in common. So you can see they get grouped together. This is one cluster. But this keyword here also has 2 URLs in common with some of these keywords. It's got more in common with these keywords, which is why it's landed in this cluster, but it has got some in common with these. That can happen for a number of reasons. Sometimes a keyword is, can fall into 2 areas, but also sometimes, especially for SERP scraping, Google likes to show diverse results. So sometimes even if you type in the same keyword twice, you can get slightly different results. And that's why sometimes you might get this slight variation. Now, why this can be really confusing is, especially with our tool and most SERP clustering tools, the cluster is normally named after the keyword with the most search volume, because obviously you want to optimize towards that cluster. So in that scenario, if this keyword had the most search volume in this cluster, and this keyword, which shares 2 URLs in common, with this cluster, if this keyword had the most search volume in this cluster, basically when you're looking at the report, just without expanding and seeing all the rest of the keywords in the cluster, this keyword and this keyword look very, very similar. And people go, hey, I don't think the tool's working because you've got these 2 keywords in 2 different clusters. And the reality is, okay, they could be in the same cluster, but if you expanded it and analyzed every keyword in that set, then you'd start to understand, actually, I can see why they're in 2 different clusters. So there's a bit of a con for SERP clustering in that it can sometimes be confusing to look at, especially when you get a situation like this. So there's a con of it. Keyword Insights is a SERP clustering tool. So we operate Google's world. We want to optimize towards that. There are many other great SERP clustering tools out there, and this is a slight little sales thing, so apologies for that, but it'll make sense as we go through some of the examples we've gone to. We've brought in some additional metrics like intent and rank tracking that some of the other tools don't offer. And that means that our reports are displayed in a way that we can start to think a bit more out the box and how we use it. And that's really the idea behind this presentation. For those eagle-eyed among you, these 2 cartoons are from a recent YouTube video we posted about SEMrush versus Keyword Insights. If you haven't seen it, check it out. I think it's quite funny, and you can see me rapping on it. So this is where we get to the point of the presentation. Let's go through some out-of-the-box case studies and show you how we've come across some situations and some deliverables with thinking a bit differently on how to use keyword clustering. We'll start with keyword cannibalization, quite a hot topic at the moment. This is a case study and each one of these will show you a case study, how we did it and what the results were, so you can really, take this home and use it yourselves. But the first one was for a company called Zero Down, which is a large American property company. And they had all these pages that we're going to call keyword pages. They're basically like homes for sale in, or houses for sale in, and properties for sale in, and log cabins for sale in. And you can imagine, and they had 400 of these keyword pages. So they had 400 different versions of houses for sale, properties for sale, log cabins for sale, etc., etc. And then they had it for every state, every postcode, every town. So this is this is homes for sale in Los Angeles. You can imagine they had this for every state, every postcode, every town, which basically meant they were over 50 million URLs, because 400 keyword pages across every town, state, postcode, neighborhood in America. Just a humongous website, really, really big. And they came to us and they said, hey, we're not moving off of page 2 for our main keyword pages. So this was a good example. homes for sale Los Angeles, for which we had every internal link going. This was linked off the homepage. We built links to this page. It just wouldn't budge off of off page 2. And so they came to us, and we noticed that loads of the pages weren't indexed. Loads of the pages were being incorrectly indexed. Sometimes for homes for sale, a different page, houses for sale, was competing against it. And we thought, there's probably a big issue here with keyword cannibalization and also crawl budget. Now, I'm using the word crawl budget quite confidently here. There's crawl budget isn't an issue if your site's a couple of thousand pages, despite what a lot of the stuff out there says. It's only really an issue when you're talking millions of pages, and we are talking 50 million pages here. So crawl budget was definitely an issue, and keyword cannibalization was definitely an issue. You can see here, and this was a screenshot I showed earlier, we just spot checked some of their keyword pages. So we were like houses for sale California, homes for sale California, and properties for sale California. Well, they were 70% similar, so they could probably be rolled into one. They also had flats for sale in California and apartments for sale in California. So again, we spot checked that, and we've got a tool within Keyword Insights you can do that. It's called SERP similarity. Just allows you to spot check 2 to 6 keywords very quickly. And again, flats for sale California and apartments for sale California, they had 80% similar. So we're like, okay, these could probably be rolled together as well. The problem was we had another 450 odd to check. And I mean, it's fine and quite easy to check 2 or 3 that we've just spotted against each other. But how do we start checking en masse against all 450? Especially some of the more obscure ones like mansions for sale and 9 bedrooms for sale. Do they mean the same thing? Because they could do. So we basically use merge words to create every permutation of their keyword pages. So we pulled all their keywords, their keyword pages out. So modern farmhouses, tiny homes, lake houses, Japanese style house, houseboats, mansions, rustic farmhouse. We pulled all of them. And we just basically added for sale and California and merged them and came. Oh, we also added some of our own. We did some keyword research ourselves and added them to it, which is why you've got 524 combinations. And so we had just every permutation of their keyword page plus a few that keyword research we'd done just to make sure that they didn't miss anything. And we popped them into our keyword clustering program and set it off. The results when we got the report back was quite enlightening, really. So you can see in this is just a small sample. You can see just how many of these property types could be rolled together. So modern beach houses for sale, and there was another one there, but for some reason it's hidden. But cabin homes for sale, chalet for sale, and log homes for sale, they could all be rolled into one. And I mean, this colonial style homes was massive. American colonial style, British colonial farmhouse, colonial homes, colonial revival. All of these could just be rolled into just a category of colonial homes. Cottages for sale, cottage core homes, all of them. And so we had a massive spreadsheet of just all the easy categories we could roll into one. And so we redirected all of them. We were quite conservative. We redirected all the ones that we could. To give you a bit more information here, we chose a lead URL. And to do that, we also pulled in link metrics and traffic metrics. You can't see that in this screenshot, but that's what helped us decide what our lead URL would be. And then we redirected about 15 million URLs in the end. And you can see the redirect here. And just over the course of a few months, it was about 110% increase in traffic, just as the indexation got better, the right pages started ranking, and they just stopped competing against each other, as well as probably making the crawl budget more efficient and sending things to the right places. So that's how we use keyword clustering to rapidly work out what categories could be pushed together on a large property site. You could do something similar for other niches. So I've thought about, and we've experimented and done this with large e-commerce stores. So Etsy is a really good one I always see. They have so many categories that every screenshot here you see, by the way, is an indexable page. It's not like I've created this using the search bar. These are indexable pages that rank on Google. And so Etsy, you've got dining tables, actually, Etsy's also got dining tables, plural. I think Etsy's got a big issue because their customers who create the listings also create the categories. I think whatever it is, they've got this huge issue with multiple category pages all targeting the same thing. So they could easily use keyword clustering to roll all them together. I mean, you could think of other e-commerce stores that do the same. And travel sites as well. Like I see Expedia and all these other companies basically looking at, chalets in Colorado and cabins in Colorado. They could probably, I haven't actually tested this. Maybe these have got 2 different results, but it's certainly worth testing. And there's probably loads of other examples as well. So yeah, you could use this way of clustering and roll it out with your own niches. There's another way we used keyword clustering to fix cannibalization issues, and this is perhaps maybe a bit easier. It's especially easier for content-based sites. This method is really good for e-commerce, travel, property, that kind of thing. This other method is really good for, I guess, content sites, but you could do it the other way. And again, so we were looking at a client site of ours, and we noticed that there was loads of similar posts. Just because they weren't updating it, they were basically making a new one. So they had top 10 most followed Instagram 2023, and then top 20 most followed Instagram accounts. This is obviously published in 2022, but they're both competing for the keyword now, most followed Instagram accounts. And obviously, it would be best if this had a load of links, which I think it does, just to redirect it into this one and get the 2023 one ranking. That would make sense. But we noticed loads of similar posts like that on their site. So the first thing we did was download their sitemap. Of course, you can also use a crawler if that's easier. This wasn't a massive site, so it was easy just to get their sitemap and pull it off. We dumped all of the URLs into Google Sheets, and then we tokenized it into a keyword. So what I mean by tokenize is we took all the HTTPS, buzzoid.com, all the slashes, all the forward slashes, all the .coms. We took all of that out and stripped the URL right back to what its keyword would be. Assuming the URL is named after the H1 and assuming the URL is basically what they want to rank for. We stripped all of that back. There is a little formula here you can use that does that. Obviously, replace https.com with whatever your client is, but it very quickly strips all of that back into the tokenized keyword. I think you can see where I'm going to go with this. We clustered the tokenized keywords because, the tokenized keywords are the URLs. And if we run them through a clustering, remember the logic with clustering, we're grouping keywords together that share X amount of URLs in common on Google. So if we cluster them and they go into the same cluster, then it means that they could be cannibalizing each other, or they certainly could be combined. And so straight away, you can see here, top 20 most followed Instagram accounts, most followed Instagram users. Instagram algorithm, how does the Instagram algorithm work? So there was all these posts that could be merged together. I'm not going to go through how we did it because it's pretty easy for those who've got VLOOKUP, but this was obviously going to go to a developer. So we didn't just want to send them this. So we used VLOOKUP to pull back in the URL and then remade the pivot table. So very quickly, all we did was, VLOOKUP the keyword against the tokenized keyword again and made the pivot table like that. So straight away, now you've actually got a document you can send to developers or whoever's doing this to merge. These are the URLs you should be merging. And again, if you then plug this into Screaming Frog, or if you did Screaming Frog at the very beginning at this stage, when you were pulling the sitemap out, you can pull through the metrics such as traffic and links, and then you can choose a lead URL to redirect into. So yeah, another really quick way of using keyword clustering to find cannibalization issues. We see this a lot, by the way, if you're in one of these niches, we see this a lot with typically franchise websites. So franchises, there's often a core company website. In this case, arbor.com is an American senior living facility type company, and they've got a core organization website, arbor.com. But then they've got all the franchisees, and they're all the senior care homes that are spread all the way through the States. And each senior care home is in charge of its own content marketing and its own website. And so what you see is all Arbor companies, you can see that all their own websites were always prefixed with this locations page. So this one is the Herndon branch. They've written an article on everything you need to know about independent living. But the Kingwood in Texas branch has also written about that. The Tennessee one on Opus has also written something similar. And what you've got is all these franchises, without any central planning, just all churning out the same content, but it all sits on the same domain, arbor.com. So arbor.com is an organizational website. And this is just one example of about 1,000 I could show you from this very same company. So arbor.com is literally cannibalizing themselves across every single franchisee they've got because there wasn't a central place. I've seen Ashley's comment. They're not using the same article. They're all very different. One is like 7 reasons you should do it, and one's 8 reasons. They're all literally just writing the same thing. But yeah, all centrally located on the same domain, which wasn't great. So yeah, another reason you should do this, especially if you're working with a franchisee or someone who doesn't have a central place where content is managed. Keyword clustering is also good for keyword uncannibalization. This is only a very short slide, but basically, all the slides previously we're using keyword clustering to work out what pages should be merged together. There's actually some really interesting case studies of where we found things where pages should be broken apart. Now, it doesn't always make sense to, like in your head, it doesn't make sense. But if Google's showing two different results and your client or you want to be visible for those two results, then you should be making two different pages. And this is a really good example. Every vape company I've ever seen has a page, vaporizer, accessories, and parts, because I mean, that means the same thing, right? Vape parts, vape accessories, that means the same thing. And indeed, if you feed that through most NLP algorithms, they will group that together because it's lexically means the same thing. And this is one of the cons with that. Yeah, if you put it through a SERP clusterizer, a SERP clustering tool, whatever you want to call it, you'll see that actually they share very few URLs in common, and they're in two very different clusters. So our advice to this client and anyone else would be, look, we can target both of these terms on two separate pages and get all of the traffic from both. And it won't cannibalize because they're very different results. So you could also use keyword clustering for keyword uncannibalization, which is almost quite, it's the opposite of what you think. Fix intent misalignment. Maybe this is a slight sales one, but we also pull in the intent for all your keywords. So we call it keyword context. And again, just for people who've used our tool, the reason we call it keyword context is because it works differently to how other tools work out intent. Most other tools work out intent by using the SERP features, or maybe again using NLP. We actually have trained millions and millions of results on a data set, and so it's a train model. It takes us a lot more time, which is why if there's anyone who's not English, or I think we've got it in Dutch, they're the only two languages we've got at the moment. But if there's anyone who's not English or Dutch, it's the only reason we've got it in just those two languages is because it takes us so much time to train the model. But yeah, that's why we call it context. We've started to call it intent now because so many people ask us what the hell context is, but we're still sticking true and calling it context. Anyway, in Keyword Insights, you can pull that in. And when you look at the report, it pulls it in as a number. So again, if you look at the UI within the tool, it will just say informational or transactional. But if you actually open up the Excel sheet, it gives you this number. And how you're reading that is it's saying, look, for this keyword, couples Halloween costumes, out of the 10 results on Google, 6 of them are informational, 2 of them are a product page, and 2 of them are some other page we couldn't quite classify. And then when you roll this cluster up, obviously there's an average. So the average of this might be 6.9, 2.3, and 1.9. And so the overarching intent of this is obviously informational. That's what you see in the UI, just the informational part. But if you ever wanted a breakdown of all the keywords within a cluster, you can see it there. Why this is handy is because when you are working with a client and you're looking for really quick wins, I mean, you can find really quick wins basically. So I've hidden the URL here. I've called it snippetclient.com, but then I've told you who the client is here. So it's almost a bit pointless me hiding it. But there we go. So Resonate Recordings was someone who approached us. They wanted to rank for online voice recorder. And they wanted to rank for many things, but this was one of the quick wins because when this cluster was rolled up, we saw that the average rank was like 20. And that was like, okay, so if it's 20, that means we're on, page 2, 3, just a bit of work, we can bump it up to page 1. And when we opened that cluster up and we started scanning down, what we saw was really interesting. Actually, we were ranking, it was very jumpy. Normally, if you're an average rank 20, it's because you're ranking across all the keywords in a set, you're ranking between 18 and 30, and it averages out at 20. We saw something really interesting here. It was like 35, 100, 7, 48, 8, 100. Like it was like really well or not well at all. And so we're scanning down and we're like, okay. And this was a blog. You can tell by the URL here. It's got a date in it. It's one of them WordPress blog type things. We were scanning down and it was like, okay, well, the average, like everything here is like mainly product pages. And obviously we can rank with a blog because we are ranking with a blog in some cases, 8 and 7. But it would make more sense if we wanted to rank quickly to basically spin this up and redirect it as a product page. So we changed the page, made it look like a product page. And by that, I mean, we literally made it a free online voice recorder rather than a blog about a free online voice recorder. We redirected it and we suddenly had 341% increase in, about 2 weeks. It was honestly that rapid. So again, using the intent, you can very quickly find intent misalignments there. This is probably my most interesting section, well, other than the cannibalization I love, but I love some of the content opportunities we've come up with. And so this is quite a big section. So the most easiest idea is using clustering plus the rank tracking within Keyword Insights to find content gaps. So I always say, imagine your first day at HubSpot, or you come in as a consultant, and they say, hey, we'd like you to come up with we would like to become an authority on the keyword, on the topic of keyword research. And HubSpot actually do write a lot about keyword research. And so you go and look at their blog and they've got 37,000, at least nearly 40,000 articles. That's not all around keyword research, but they've got 40,000 articles for you to try and work out what don't we have content on. This is assuming that they don't have some way of tracking that anyway. But even if they did, I still wouldn't know how you would quickly find the content gap. So first day HubSpot, please find us a content gap on keyword research. We'd like to become an authority on that. Well, we would start by just collecting an indiscriminate keyword universe. So I don't care where the keywords come from. We've got keyword discovery, which just to put it out there, it's not great at the moment. We're working on it, but it's good. It's worth using. But pull your keywords from other sources by all means. Use other SEO tools. Use Search Console. Build this massive keyword list of just keyword research, anything to do with the topic, and be really indiscriminate about it. Don't bother spending your time filtering or any of that nonsense. The whole point of clustering is to make this quick. Combine from multiple sources, upload them, and definitely put in the rank of the domain that you're trying to find the content gap on. And when you get the report, it's so easy. You can literally stick a filter on, and you'd say, hey, show me all the clusters where I rank in, or I either don't rank or I don't rank very well on. And you've suddenly got loads of gaps in you can see all the clusters of content you don't have. I've used the wrong screenshot here. This was for someone else, FreshBooks. But I have got a HubSpot screenshot here where you can visualize it differently. So this is the clustering tab within the tool, and you can see it as cards. And if this was HubSpot, you would see the correct cards. I've used the wrong screenshot here. But if this was HubSpot, you might see keyword research for Amazon, because HubSpot don't actually have that article, or keyword research for YouTube because they don't have that article, and they don't rank well for it. And so it's a really quick way of just using the filters to quickly find your content gaps. We've also got a tab called the topical clusters. And if you click that within the tool, we then group all the clusters together, and you can really quickly see it like this. So this big circle here, basically, you can see all these smaller circles within the circle. They're all individual clusters around this big cluster. And so this big cluster is anything to do with Amazon keyword research. And all these little clusters are separate articles around Amazon keyword research. So if I've got time, I'll show you in the actual tool. But if I hovered over each one, you might see best keyword research tools for Amazon. So there's one article. Amazon keyword research in general. So there's another article. How to find the keywords that your Amazon competitors are looking for was another article. And so you can become a topical authority on just Amazon keyword research by clicking on this circle and quickly working out where your content gaps are. These big green circles, incidentally, are where they are working well. You can see here I've colored the circles by rank, and the size is the volume. So you can really quickly see this circle here is like ambery. So probably there's some content in there we can just improve and update. And they'll all be related to whatever that circle is. So really quick way of using clustering to find your content gaps where you don't have content, and it's seeing it visually and showing this to a client or your stakeholders as well. Idea 2 is this thing of content fragmentation. So this is a term I'm trying to coin. So if you want to hashtag it, please do. I would love to be a coiner of terms. But it's an idea I've come up with where when I'm stuck for finding new content ideas or doing keyword research and I don't know where to start, I've come up with this idea, content fragmentation. So let's go through an example. Latham's are a steel security door website in the UK, and they've got a pretty exhaustive blog. I mean, there's not really much you can write about on steel doors anyway. It's quite a boring subject matter, and he will not mind me telling you that. So he came to me and was like, look, we need more content ideas. And I didn't know where to start. So I was like, well, which product should we focus on? And it was high security front doors. There's a lot of search volume for front doors. So, okay, how do we fragment this into some content ideas? High security front doors. What problem is that trying to solve? Well, it's solving residential burglary. So all I did was Googled residential burglary, and I just click on the first link there. Now, at this point, I'll tell you what I mean, why I call it content fragmentation. It's this idea, and you can see it here in the Ahrefs toolbar. This top article here ranks for residential burglary, obviously, because it's number one. But it also ranks for another 364. Actually, that's globally. It's actually about 200 and something keywords in the UK, but it ranks for another 364 keywords. And you can bet unintentionally they didn't mean to rank for all 364 keywords. They've just touched upon, this article's touched across various topics, and it just so happens to rank for 364 keywords. But it doesn't rank for 364 keywords well. It probably ranks really well for 10 of them, middle of the road for the other 100, and then not very well for the other 200. Do you know what I mean? It's sort of broadly touching on various subjects, which is why across all the keywords, if you open this up and see what keywords it ranks for, you'd see it ranking position 1 for residential burglary, but position 11 for is a robber in my house. You know, it covers these broad topics. So content fragmentation is this idea. I'm going to get all the keywords that they're trying to rank for, either intentionally or not, and fragment it out into all the subtopics that it should be. So that's the idea here. So I've Googled residential burglary. That was that's what this problem's trying to solve. I've clicked on the first result, and I've downloaded the 241 keywords that it ranks for in the US in this example. So I've downloaded all those keywords. And then I've put them in the clustering tool, because again, you've got to remember what clustering is doing is it's saying how many of these keywords should be broken out. I'm going to group the keywords together. That should be its own topic. And from those 241 keywords that this article ranks for, we have 25 content ideas. And they're really good content ideas. Signs your house is being marked, statistics of home invasions, burglary meaning, probably wouldn't write that one. There's some other really good examples down here. So there's probably 20 good ideas. And that's why we call it content fragmentation, because I've just come up with a keyword, chucked it in, and I'm going to fragment that out into all the subtopics it should be. So I'm not only going to rank for residential burglary, but all the subtopics as well. And you can imagine where I'm going to go with this. Each topic is going to be internally linked to one another, and then they'll all be pointing back to my product page and ranking everything, and it's all going to be great. Great. And the idea 3 with content, our final idea in the subject of content creation, is this idea of zero volume keywords. So imagine, again, we had a client, Nextevo. They came to us. Sorry, jumping around. Nextevo came to us. And they said, which is a brand new skincare. They're actually a CBD brand in the States. If you ever want CBD, they're really, really smart people. Check them out. They've come up with some really scientific way to make like loads of absorption. Anyway, I'm going off topic. They have also created a facial cream which helps massively. They're proper scientists. Like they're really smart people, and they've invented this cream which solves loads of issues. It's like a miracle cream. It solves issues with psoriasis and red skin and acne. It does everything. And basically, they're a new site, and they're up against giants. It's going to be incredibly competitive. And their question to us was, how do we insert ourselves into the conversation in such a competitive niche? And it's a good question because it's incredibly competitive. Everyone has access to keyword tools. So we thought, do you know what? Everyone's going to be targeting the same keywords. So we're going to go to other sources of inspiration. And we thought we'll go to like Reddit and Quora to find these keywords. Our logic being here that if they're going to Reddit to ask a question, it's because they can't find the answer to that question anywhere else online, or at least not satisfactorily. Not always the case, because of course you've just got some diehard Reddit fans who go there for the chat. But generally speaking, if someone goes there, it's because they can't find a satisfactory answer elsewhere online. And there's a lot of users, and there's so many communities about everything, especially skincare, especially beauty, but pretty much most niches you'll find, at least B2C niches, you'll find a relevant subtopic in Reddit and Quora. here's my example. So, I mean, you've got beauty, skincare addiction. You've just got ask anyone, and you can see just all these questions just from looking at them. But there's just thousands. And so our idea is thinking, let's scrape all of these questions. So we actually came up with a little scraper. Let's scrape all of these questions, and we had a caveat. We'll only scrape the questions that have a minimum amount of upvotes and a minimum amount of comments, and we'll pull them all into one place. And yeah, basically we'll group them together. And our logic being, if the same question is being asked 100 different ways, if there's a question and it's got 15 upvotes and 13 comments, or 33 upvotes and 25 comments, it's clearly a question that resonates with people. And if there's another 50 questions all similar to that question, and when you group them together, you can make a safe bet that it's not a zero volume question. It's just a question that's being asked in too many different ways. So we did that, and we scraped loads and loads of these, and we had thousands and thousands of ideas. Look, I mean, just like how big this cluster is here on the left, all zero volume keywords. And I've actually had to cut this screenshot off. If each one of these comments, which is now being grouped together by our clustering algorithm, has at least 20 upvotes and 20 comments, and it's being asked at least 50 times, I would say that's not a zero volume keyword. I would just say that keyword tools haven't found it yet, because people are typing it all in their colloquial and weird ways. And we had thousands of ideas. I don't have the results for you. We've only just started rolling this campaign out, but our content strategy is largely based around this idea of finding these ideas that no other skincare company is talking about, but we know that loads of users are looking for it because they're going to these forums and asking about it. Incidentally, in an update coming to Keyword Insights, we will have partially of this Reddit scraping thing available, so you'll be able to do a part of this yourself shortly. If you don't have the capabilities or the time or the inclination to scrape Reddit and Quora, and you don't want to come up with something, the easiest place to go initially would be your search console. Again, you've got all these queries there that have probably really low impressions. So on an individual level, when you're looking at it, you just ignore it. But if you were to export all of your queries and then cluster them together, you might start to see, or you'll definitely start to see 30 or 40 keywords with 50 impressions. And now you're talking about a search volume of a couple of thousand rather than, 100 or 5 or 10. And now it becomes more interesting. This is this was, again, that Latham Steel Door Company. We did it for them to come up with more content ideas. And you can see here, some of the impressions, this one, that's actually quite a big one. But should fire doors be kept closed? That is such a long tail question. I think it had like 40 impressions. And individually, I would have never actually bothered to start writing an article on it. But you can see the combined search volume. The search volume, incidentally, in this column is just the impression count. Combined actually had a lot when you grouped all those keywords together. So yeah, Search Console is a good place to start looking at that. Tiny little sales pitch, apologies. Soon, so I've just gone through all these content ideas. Soon you'll be able to do all of this, create the content within Keyword Insights itself. So obviously, we're predominantly known for being a clustering tool. We're trying to shape that idea and say we're actually a full content marketing tool. In about a week or two, our very own AI writer is coming, and you'll be able to move from the clustering straight into pushing them into articles, have the introduction spat out, use our AI chat assistant to ask it questions to pull them in. We've got a research tab here, so you can see all the search results and add any headings you've missed. And then we've got an optimized tab here where we're grading how well your article looks compared to the top 20 results. Obviously, our aim here is to get a grade A. What's really cool, and you can't quite see it in this screenshot actually, is if you highlight, maybe I can quickly show you because I think I've got it here. If you highlight, this is it in our dev, by the way. This is a feature I'm really, really happy with, because I don't know about you, but it comes in line with this clustering. As I'm writing an article and I write a keyword, I always think, oh, I need another article on that one, so I can internally link to it. It might not work. Yeah, okay. I need another article on that so I can internally link to it. So what we've done, so let's say we want to write an article specifically on the definition and explanation of dropshipping. You can highlight this and you'll be able to click create new article. And in the background, what's going on is we've gone away now. We've started to make that article for you. So once you finish this article, you can go away and internally link to the new article that's already made. So you can start churning out content really quickly. So that is coming, which means we'll have the whole workflow. You'll be able to find keyword ideas on our platform. You'll be able to then cluster them, which is a lot of what this presentation has been about, grouping them, finding those content opportunities. You can create content briefs, or you can skip this step if you don't want to do it, and you can directly write it in content using our AI content writer, which is coming soon. So in summary, and I think I've got 5 minutes left, so I've done this really well. In summary, keyword clustering can and should be used in some pretty clever ways. You can use it to find keyword cannibalization instances. You can find keyword uncannibalization opportunities. You can find intent misalignment across a broad cluster of keywords. And it can help with your keyword research and content planning by letting you group loads of zero volume keywords together and actually understanding it's not quite as zero volume as you think. Quickly finding content gaps without any planning. Just pull as many keywords as you can, dump them in and be done with it. None of this filtering and stuff. And then content fragmentation, a word I would love everyone to tweet about because I really want it to catch on. But fragmenting content out, looking at the top results and understanding actually all the keywords that this ranks for should be broken out. This top article, which ranks well-ish for 200 keywords, should be broken out into another 25 articles, which we could rank really well for all of them. And that is everything. Our next webinar is on, like I said, we want this to be a series about thinking outside the box. And I hope that some of the things we've spoken about today gives you some actual things you can go away and do. Our next webinar is going to be on tangential SEO, this idea of writing content on topics tangential to what you do. And again, how you can use clustering to find that. It'll be on August the 30th. There isn't a link yet, but if anyone is interested, I will send that out. And yeah, that is everything.
Andy, thank you, Andy.
Yes.
Andy, we got one question from Ben. I think we should, here's a question. We should answer that. Can you see it? Is it coming up on the screen?
Hey, I'd be interested in knowing what to do if redirecting is not an option. I have an e-commerce site that may have cannibalization issues. If they have different products, so redirecting is not an option. Organic white t-shirts versus organic t-shirts. They have different products. Are you sure? I'd be interested in seeing if they are actually cannibalizing because, I guess it's quite niche when we go organic white, isn't it? Versus organic t-shirts.
They could be, but I think Google is smart enough to probably understand. They might not rank the white t-shirts for organic t-shirts if you already have a page for organic t-shirts, because it's more closely related, that page, to the intent, what people are searching for. So yeah. Yeah, I think and as with any tool as well, it's like the clustering is it's designed to make your life easier, but it's never this is what to do. So we get some instances, and that might be one where if you typed in organic white t-shirts, do you actually have two things that rank? Does it like indent under one? In which case, definitely don't touch them. I think I can't actually. It's also to do with also look at the search volume as well, isn't it, Andy? So if the search volume is it really low on your white one? When you say white organic t-shirts versus organic t-shirts, which is more generic organic t-shirts in the sense. So you like to be ranking. I doubt there's going to be any cannibalization here, given the terms that this page is going to rank for going to be different. It's not going to be the same terms it's going to rank for. Maybe some terms, but most of the terms with high search volume, it's likely Google will rank them separately.
I said August. I meant October. October 30th. Sorry.
You're going to have to change that date.
Yeah. Cool. I mean, I can follow up and actually have a look at that if you're interested, but it's really difficult to say without looking properly.
Yep.
Any other questions?
Any other questions? I think that's all, Andy. I don't think we have any other questions. I think I've answered most of it, I guess. There was one question actually. No, not really. I think we did answer all the questions. Yes.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining. We'll be the next one's next month anyway, 30th. Definitely not last month. And I hope you found some things that you can take away and use yourselves. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Do I just click end stream again then?
Yes, I'm just
Okay.
saying a thank you message. Okay.
Okay, end stream.